Hey everyone, welcome back. This is going to be the One Piece chapter 1137 review. I plan on doing these reviews kind of pretty similarly in the foreseeable future, where I'm just going to kind of go through the chapter, share my thoughts, pick up on some interesting things that I like, that I didn't like, and then go from there. All right. So we have 1137 Shamrocks appearing. We start with the cover story, which I'm hoping finally by the billionth week in a row that we're actually going to start making some progress here with this cover story because it's been pretty lackluster. And I think most people probably agree with that. A lot of us in the community were wondering like what's happening with the Toby Ropo, what are King and Queen doing? I don't believe they were captured or taken prisoner. If they were, someone let me know. But the Toby Ropo, we got the who's who kind of style hideout, and there's clearly some, henchman stuff going on. And as we know, Yamato wants to follow in Odin's footsteps. So this makes complete sense where the path that I'm predicting, and I'm sure many, many others are, is that Yamato's going to, like Odin, gather all these criminals, beat them one on one, show them their strength and kind of have them as her own little henchmen the way, Odin did with why am I blanking on his name? The guy with the pink hair. You know who I'm talking about. The guy who just like exploded and died. Um and I was so sure he wasn't going to die, but I was wrong. So that's the cover story. It's starting to unfold a little bit more here. We pick up at the Arust Castle. Arst Castle. I have no idea how to pronounce that, if this is even the right like pronunciation. And Roto, Luffy, and Nami are looking for the key for Loki's chains. And apparently it's here. This seems to be the castle that King Harold resided in. So they're going in, they're having a little bit of banter. Um, Picking up to where I had mentioned in the previous chapter, I'm really liking this idea of Zoro being like more thoughtful and like more considerate. He was interested in like the sun god Nika stuff, and there was ellipses in a lot of places. He talked to Luffy about, just because he met Shanks, Loki, that is, just because Loki met Shanks doesn't mean he's a trustworthy guy. He's a Kingslayer. And it was really cool seeing that from Zorro, just kind of like this very mature, very methodical kind of version of Zorro, which I don't expect to really stick around, like most things in One Piece with shonen in general. Characters are pretty stagnant. It's not very lucrative, I'll say, for characters to become dynamic and thoroughly change over time, but it almost makes these little moments of Zorro and other characters who kind of take on this little different side of them, that we're not accustomed to. It makes those moments more impactful, I think, in a weird way, because they do remain so stagnant, or we think of them as stagnant. So I think that's really cool to see. It's about the little things, in the One Piece chapters, as the fans that we are, and not always about those ginormous reveals. But we do have a crazy reveal at the end, so I'm excited to get towards that. They're just kind of going through the castle. They're remarking upon the fight between Loki and Harold, and wondering, you know, I guess it makes the audience wonder, like, how did this battle unfold? What kind of powers one does Loki have? Because we know and assume that he's got some crazy mythical Zoan devil fruit or something. What did Harold have? He kind of strikes me as just like a pure like brute force, but still very dexterous in his fighting style. Just, I mean, imagine, because I don't think we've seen it yet. Just imagine a huge giant with like crazy armament hockey. Like that just seems like you just punch the world and it just blows up. Like when you consider giants using hockey, or giants having devil fruits like Logias or Zoans, you can easily see why the world government and the rest of the world fears the giants. And it's really cool to kind of see that reiterated, I think, in this chapter. I also really liked when we got to the skeletons in the castle. It reminded me of Draugr or something like from Skyrim and from Norse mythology as well. And then we get all this stuff with like the realm of the dead, and I'm expecting. mm, Let me take that back. I'm wanting to see Draugr. I'm wanting to see these undead giant skeletons. It would just be so cool. So like I'm really excited and hope that we get to see that. And I think a lot of people will agree. Um, we get the King Harold reveal as well, at least what he looks like. And he looks like a mean SOB. Like he's got the scowl and everything. And it was mentioned that he had the blood of the ancient giants. He had the horns and he tore them off, which is insane to me. Like it looks like there's just like obviously huge scars in his head, but there's also indents where those horns used to be. And again, Zorro is just kind of musing to himself where he talks about the determination. And he would know, right? I mean, go all the way back to the Baratier arc, and he knows a thing or two about determination. He took that slash from Mihawk's Yoru like an absolute champ because he knew it was the noble thing to do. And I think Zorro sees that in King Harold just by this action of removing his horns and kind of this moment of self-sacrifice where he wanted to lead his people into this new era of peace, and the horns, in my opinion, for him were viewed as, you know, it brought on thoughts of violence or of war. They mentioned that the ancient giants were intrinsically connected to the era of wars. I'm sure we're going to get a different name when the official comes out, because some of these like quotation, phrases are a little lackluster. They're very vanilla, very plain. Um, we obviously get the reveal to the Straw Hats that Harrodin is King Harold's other son, but then we also get to find out as audience members that he's Loki's half brother, not his full brother. His mother was kind of discriminated against because she was born in a giant kingdom. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was reading that, I was like, yo, like that's messed up. Like, obviously it is. And like that doesn't make any sense to me. And then Roto is like, well, you humans do it all the time. And I was like, we kind of do that all the time, even in the real world. It's tragic, and especially in the One Piece world. And we get a backstory with Roto, which I'm not gonna lie, it was very brief. Only like 3 panels, but it did give me more insight into why he behaves the way that he does. Because I mean, at first, I think all of us agreed that this guy was just like a creep. He's ugly, he's a creep, he's an idiot. And I got the feeling that a lot of us just didn't like him. And I think that was very, very reasonable considering that he kidnaps people and plays dolls with them, right? But it was nice to see that, like, Roto was just being ostracized. He was being bullied. And, much like a shonen main character, someone cooler and stronger and better than him stepped in the way of Haruden and really connected with what made Roto unique, which was that he was really good at drawing maps and he had a huge prospect to become a really good navigator. And Howardin took him on like that. And honestly, like, I'm not saying I've swung to Roto and like his character and what he's done or forgiven him for what he's done, but I'm leaning that way. Like, to be honest, like, I think, getting more insight into Roto is definitely going to help his character a lot in my eyes. And then we kinda get Howardin's, Luffy, like, war cry of, like, "I'm gonna be king of all the giant tribes," is what he said, and that he has his own individual goals and his own determination, which is really cool to see. I love getting more in depth from these side characters with what they want. It's always crucial in storytelling to have a character relay to the audience what they want. I believe it was Kurt Vonnegut who said, the author Kurt Vonnegut, who said that every character should have or want something, even if it's just to get a glass of water. And I love that we're getting more of the dreams of these side characters as we should. And then towards the end, we go back as I think we all. Oh, wait, one more thing. something I wanted to comment on when at the end of the scene with Luffy and Nami and Roto in the castle, he says, "Hey guys, come here. There are giants here," and I'm willing to bet that those are the giants that uh, Gunko and Skanks took out when they were at questioning the whereabouts of Loki. And now, if that's the case, the question is, if this castle has been closed off and has, been forbidden for anyone to enter, why were those guys there? Why were those giants in there? If it is indeed them, and regardless, if they're completely new characters, why are they here? I wonder if they're also doing some scheming or subplotting, because there's for sure going to be multiple plots that unfold in the Elbaf arc. I think we can all see that happening very easily. So I'm interested to see where Luffy, Nami, and Zoro and Roto kind of follow that path. What are they going to find out? What are they going to discover? Because I can easily see them looking for the key, and then I think it makes sense as a storyteller. Like, okay, they're after, object A. What are you going to throw in the way to stop them from getting what they want? I mean, that's just storytelling 101. Your character wants something. How do you stop them from getting it? So I don't think we're getting the key next chapter or the next time that we see Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Roto. Then we pick back up towards the end with Gunko, and she is just beating the crap out of Loki. And we kind of get a little more of her power. It's very strange. We get it revealed towards the end. They're just being condescending, and Loki's like, "I'm not joining you guys. Like, screw you guys," rightfully so. And I think that also occurring last chapter. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me, it's like I'm really rooting for Loki now. Like, it would be super interesting in the world of One Piece to have this character who has done something terrible and then be redeemed. And who knows the full story? Like, maybe Harold was doing some shady stuff behind the scenes that only Loki knew about and the rest of Elbaf doesn't know about. Like, what if Loki was like, doing that classic, like, sacrificial main character type stuff where he's like, I'm going to take on the burden of killing King Harold because he was doing this messed up thing over here. So that way, the people of the entire country who loved, adored, and respected him don't feel betrayed. He takes on this solo burden where the entire country doesn't crumble morally for believing in someone who did such a bad thing, and he takes all that pain on himself. Like, that would be really cool. You don't see it very much in One Piece. I mean, we got it. One of the only examples I can think of is the kind of redemption of Jimbei in Nami's eyes, where he admits that he let Arlong loose in the East Blue, you know? Like, I think we could easily get something like that. And dude, how cool would that be? Like, it would just make us love Loki even more. Like, he already looks cool. He seems to be like kind of an okay guy. Luffy believes in him. And Luffy has a pretty good idea. He's pretty empathetic and has a very strong understanding of people as individuals, even if they have done something bad in the past. So I think it's very possible we could see that. So continuing on, we have Gunko, yeah, just beating him up, impaling him. Now the arrow from her, I don't even know, from her leg, her pant, or lack thereof, a pant, is coming straight towards Loki. And he says, "Damn it, again. It's coming full speed toward me, toward the right side of my face. And just as I turn my head to the side, you're going to use that fist to hit me in the chin. Thanks for the warning." Now, this could be read one of two ways, I think. One, we already see the arrow coming towards him, and we see her kind of make like this weird like amalgamation. I can't even tell like what her left arm is doing. So he could visibly see that, right? He sees the arrow coming towards him. But my first read through of this scene between Gunko and Loki was, I was like, does he have future sight? Because yeah, the arrow was coming towards him, but I don't know. That's just what crossed my mind, and especially because we normally get the kind of eye cue, um, the cue of the eyes for future sight, where it does like this little sparkle or like this really like intense glare, but we can't see Loki's eyes right now, and I believe Oda's hiding them for a reason. I think once, his eyes are revealed, and I believe it was Sai or Brago or one of those, one of the other YouTubers who had the idea of like, well, what if it's got like a special pupil or iris, like the way Mihawk or Emu does? Like, what if it'd be so sick if his like the outside of his eye was like, the eight-sided like sun or something with like the little squiggle or like even like the triangle points, like how are in the world government, in like the rooms and stuff. I'm expecting his eyes to be crazy. But yeah, I just thought that maybe he's got some future sight or observation hockey. This dude for sure has to have armament. Like, I refuse to believe that he doesn't, and I refuse to believe that other giants don't. So she strikes him with that. She keeps like, "Will you enlist?" And he's just like, "No." He's staying strong. And I think we all appreciate that about Loki. Like, I think even from last chapter, we all expected him not to beg, not that he could, but like not to metaphorically kneel, and that he's trying to do his own thing. Like, he's gonna live for quite a long time, presumably, and he'll wait this out if he has to. He wants his vengeance. He wants this world destruction. And that's another point. Like, what does that mean when he says like destruction of the world, right? Because like think back to Madame Charlie's prophecy with Luffy destroying Fishman Island. We know Luffy. I think we believe Luffy is going to do it in some way, shape, or form, even to their benefit, so that they can rise to the surface. But that's the point, though. We know Luffy isn't going to literally destroy in a very destructive sense, in a very, you know, sense of maliciousness. He's not going to do that to Fishman Island. We know it's going to be for the benefit of the whole in some way, shape, or form. And I'm wondering if the same could be true for Loki. Now, maybe I'm just talking crazy. Maybe he really does want to destroy the world, but I think it's something to consider, right? Because we have different instances where the information that we're given isn't necessarily the direct definition or the direct outcome that we imagine it to be, much like Luffy, destroying Fishman Island. So who knows what that could mean? Because if he's the good guy that I think he is, I don't think he actually wants to eradicate the entire world. I don't think he wants to kill billions of people. I don't think he wants to make the planet blow up like the Death Star. The animals are getting pissed too. Like they have like these weird like spike things in them that seem different enough from Gunko's like bandage arrow power to make me wonder if Skanks has a power himself. I mean, I already know his name, but I'm just gonna keep calling him Skanks because like he's a hoe, you know. And but it looks weird. They're very distinctive from her arrow powers. They say that's enough. He says, or Loki says that's enough. He says, "You'll regret this." And one more time, Gunko's like, "Will you enlist in the Gods Knights?" And then he has like this war cry, like this cry of agony. And then we get this shady, shady dude sitting down next to that wolf. And he says, "That's enough." And then we get this huge reveal that leader of the Gods Knights is Shamrock Figarland, son of Saint Garling, and we see him in all his douchey splendor, all of his Tom douchery, his little hair, his little braids, thinking he's hot stuff. We know he's not. We know he's a hoe. We know he's a skank. And we get the first panel we see is that left side of his face. That's like, this clearly isn't Shanks, and this is all but guaranteed to be the man who spoke with the Gorosei in whatever chapter that was. I forget the exact chapter. but he says, change of plans, get in touch with Marie Joie. He says they're all useless. Even in death, they don't give up. And that's kind of implying that they think maybe this could be a translation thing that they've killed Loki. I highly, highly one, there's no way they killed Loki. But two, I don't think they would, even if there was an emotional need to want to, because of how much work they seem to be wanting to put into this. He says the ferocious warriors of Elbaf, who long ago dominated the New World, I will definitely place them under the command of the world government. And I mean, it's just crazy. We get Gunko's devil fruit, which is the arrow no mi, the human arrow. And we don't get any devil fruit description for Shamrock, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've seen characters introduced with the title box and not have their devil fruit revealed. Like I believe it was like that with Kid, if I'm not mistaken. So he still could have a devil fruit, but I think it also makes sense. Shanks is just a hockey user. I would be willing to bet that Garling is a hockey user, and if that's the case, then Shamrock is also probably just a pure hockey user. And it brings into question why. Do they know something about devil fruits that a lot of people don't know? Is it just a, uh, you know, what's the word? An arbitrary reason? Is it just like they don't like them? They like to swim? They like to go into the pool at the world government, Marijwa? I don't know. He just looks so cocky. Like, it's so crazy how you can draw a character to look exactly like Shanks, but yet Shanks looks like a nice, sweet guy, and this guy just has the most punchable face I've seen in a long time in this series. And Gunko is out here looking like Koala. And so that also, and it's weird because, Shamrock, Shanks, Gunko, Koala. And Koala used to be a slave. Remember that. She was freed by Fisher Tiger. I believe she was up at the Holy Land, if I'm not mistaken. So who knows? Like, could Gunko be related to Koala? I mean, I wouldn't put it past Oda to do. And it brings into question too with Shamrock and Shanks as Shamrock Shake. Um, who's are they both natural born sons? Is Shamrock the clone and is Shanks the real son? I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to be asking themselves that because you think back to God Valley where Roger found Shanks in that chest. Why was he there? I would bet a lot of money to say that Shanks as a baby it wasn't one of those stupid things where like, baby Shanks just kind of waddled away and then found himself like inside of a treasure chest that happened to be going to God Valley. I don't believe that for a second. Okay. I think that he was deliberately placed in there by somebody as a prize. I mean, wasn't he there with like the devil fruits and stuff? If you guys know the answer, like let me know down in the comments. But he was for sure there for a reason, like almost like as a prize. And I wonder why. And if he was there as a prize, it makes me think that Shanks isn't the natural son, that he was just a clone or something. And it would keep in line with, I guess, the cloning that we've already seen in the story. So when we think of like the older Miss Buckingham Stussy, she's like this greedy, like not necessarily evil, but she doesn't have great qualities, right? Like she's greedy. She could be a compulsive liar. She seems to think that Vegapunk can prove Weevil's birthright of being, Whitebeard's legitimate son. But you know what I mean? There's just not great qualities about her. But then when we go to the clone with Stussy and CP0, granted, she did some shady stuff, And maybe I'm, like shooting myself in the foot here with this comparison, but I think, she turned over that new leaf. Like she was revealed to be like a double agent and that she's been working for Vegapunk this whole time. So we see in the past with the clones that they almost seem better in a weird way than the original, Think back to, uh, Dofi and Rocinante. They're legitimate brothers, of course, but it brings into line the way of thinking of nature versus nurture, right? So even if Shanks was the clone, the fact that he's so much more nobler, ironically, than his brother, than his father, it just makes sense, right? Because it's the nature versus nurture, and both of them are equally as important and equally as powerful, but you can easily get different results, right? So, I mean, I thought this was an amazing chapter. The last one was, a setup chapter, but because it had been so long, that always changes our opinions. I really liked seeing Harudin's goal. And I liked seeing Shamrock's goal. Like, we know why he's here. I'd be interested to see what Gunko wants. Like, what does she want out of all of this? Is she just following orders? Does she want something else? Does she have a hidden agenda? Are we going to get a flashback of Loki and King Harold? I could see that happening. At the very least, like a flashback of King Harold talking about something, or like, King Harold made this plan a long time ago, and we kind of get a flashback of that. I think we're gonna see Loki freed soon. Maybe. I would like to. But I can also easily see him being saved, because I think a lot of us in the community have kinda commented and talked about, what if Loki is takes on like this Surtur role where he brings on Ragnarok, which would be so sick. I think we can all agree on that. So I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Like, what are other people saying about this chapter? What are other people's theories? Like, let me know down below. Like, I'd absolutely love to talk to you guys about this. I mean, I started this channel because I just couldn't, after many, many years, I just couldn't contain my excitement for this. And I just wanted to share, Yeah, I just wanted to share in the community. We have like the coolest community ever. I mean, we have a very stubborn community and sometimes toxic, but it really feels like we're a family and we're all on the same page when it comes to stuff that we like, that we don't like for the most part. And it's really exciting to finally be a part of it. So, I mean, if you guys like the video, let me know. If you disliked it, then dislike it. Like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm here because I love this series. So, if you like the video, like it. If you want to subscribe, that's up to you. I don't like asking people for that. I respect Teching so much because he never asks that of people. I'm going to be doing the live reactions and reviews every single week for the foreseeable future, and I have really big plans for some really cool videos that could possibly blow up. So I'm look forward to that if you're interested, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.